16 when it happened. Our school had this rule. No one was allowed in the hallways after 9 p.m. But one night, I had to stay late for debate practice. The team had left, but I stayed behind to grab my notebook from my locker. The building felt, wrong. Silent. Every step I took echoed, like the walls were listening. The fluorescent lights above flickered softly, buzzing like insects. When I turned the corner, I saw him. A janitor, mopping the same spot of the hallway over and over. His face was pale and his uniform looked older than anything I'd ever seen, like something from another decade. I tried to greet him. "Good evening, sir." He didn't respond. He just kept scrubbing, head bent low. The strangest part? The floor wasn't wet. I walked past, pretending not to notice how the air suddenly grew cold. It wasn't just a chill. It was like the oxygen itself had been drained. I glanced back, and he was gone. The next day, I asked my teacher about the janitor. She froze, and then said quietly, "We haven't had a night janitor in over 20 years. He died in that hallway after slipping on a wet floor." Later, I learned something even more unsettling. Students whispered that every time he appears, he's searching for the spot where he fell, the place where his life ended. Some say if you see him, and you keep watching, he notices you. Since then, I've never stayed late at school again. Mini cliffhanger. But that wasn't the only strange thing students have witnessed at night. Some never made it out at all. This story comes from a student named Carla. Her school had a music room that was always locked after hours. Rumours spread that years ago, a girl had hung herself inside after being bullied. One night, Carla had detention. When she was leaving, she heard faint piano notes echoing through the empty halls. At first, she thought it was her imagination, but the melody grew louder, slow, sorrowful, broken. It was coming from the locked music room. She pressed her ear against the door and froze. The sound wasn't just a piano. It was humming. A girl's voice, soft but trembling, humming along with the keys. Carla panicked, rushing toward the exit. But before she could reach the doors, every hallway light flickered and went out. The school was drowned in pitch black. She clutched her bag, barely breathing, listening. The piano stopped. The humming stopped. And then, right behind her ear, a whisper. "Stay and play with me." Carla bolted. She swore she felt icy fingers brush her hair as she ran through the darkness. The next morning, the janitor found the music room door slightly open. The piano bench was pulled out, and one key was pressed down, stuck, as though someone invisible was still holding it. Carla never served detention again. Mini cliffhanger. If you think that's disturbing, wait until you hear what happened to the security guard who thought he was alone. In 2014, a high school in Ohio hired a night security guard. His job was simple: patrol the halls, check the doors, and keep the building safe until morning. But on his last shift, something happened that no one could explain. At around 2 a.m, he radioed the office saying he heard footsteps upstairs. The problem? He was the only one in the building. Dispatch told him to check it out. So, he climbed the staircase, flashlight shaking in his hand. The security cameras caught what happened next. He walked down the empty corridor, shining his light from door to door. Then, suddenly, he stopped. On the footage, you could see him staring at something. Something the camera didn't catch. His mouth opened, like he was about to scream. And then, he ran. His radio cut off mid-sentence. By morning, his gear was found scattered across the hallway. But he was gone. The school claimed he abandoned his post. But when they finally reached him weeks later, his voice was cracked, hollow. He refused to say what he saw. He only whispered that it had followed him home. Since that night, no one has taken the night shift there. 3 schools, 3 different nights. And yet, one thing remains the same. Schools hold secrets, the kind you don't see in the daylight. So next time you're walking those empty hallways after dark, remember, you might not be as alone as you think. And if you've made it this far, you're brave enough to hear what's waiting in tomorrow's story. So subscribe now, before the lights go out.